It's another Reaction Monday here on SDH Network. John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by as you always do. So here's the rundown for today. It's a Monday. So it is Abe Gordon, 92.9 The Game, dropping by. Atlanta United's in a, right now, double match week with Columbus, a road trip there in the midweek. And then, in theory, a trip to the Erector Set on Saturday night. That is in the balance and probably not going to happen because of Messi and friends' state of play right now in the Club World Cup. We'll go through all of the tiebreakers and the things and all of the activity, but for all intents and purposes right now, Messi and friends are going to be in the knockouts of the Club World Cup. And odds are also in favor of them returning here to Mercedes-Benz Stadium here at SDH HQ on Sunday afternoon at noon in the knockouts. We'll go through once again all the permutations, combinations, all the things, but Abe and I will talk about Atlanta United. There's an injury that we're going to have to keep an eye on. There are two injuries, actually, one that's already laid out, one that happened last night that we've got to keep an eye on in the last day of the group stage of the Gold Cup. Bart Keeler will be here to discuss Gold Cup in general, USMNT, Gold Cup. There are a couple of reffing down here moments, including one that happened in the USMNT match that I do want to get into and go over a couple of moments from Club World Cup and anything in Bart's mind that has pursued anything of a reffing down here influence or anything involving the USMNT. So, Abe Gordon, Atlanta United, coming up in about 8 minutes. Morning, Ropes. Congratulations on the degree. Ropes got a diploma, and it is an extended degree. So, congratulations to Ropes. He is far smarter than I am. So, rundown once again. We've got news and notes, including an ownership change in the Premier League. We have all of the activity going on at Atlanta United plus Gold Cup plus Club World Cup. We do have sound, time permitting, from folks from Manchester City after their 6-0 win here in Atlanta last night. We could hear, once again, time permitting, Stefan Ortega and Ilkay Gundogan. We do have that sound in the queue ready to go after the 6-0 win last night. Stefan Ortega goes into the discussion about, Man City, because of what happened with Juve and Wydad, they knew what they kind of had to do when it comes to scoring goals and things. So they knew the numbers, and that's why the numbers kind of stilted the way that they did. Then you also have, what was it? It was, all the other stuff. How's that for a sweeping generality? But no, you've got you have everything going on in the Gold Cup, USMNT. We are going to talk about the keeper situation. We are going to talk about what happened in the match. But yes, there's an injury that we do have to keep an eye on. Club World Cup, we're now into match day 3, officially today, 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. It's a simultaneous kickoff, so you've got to have multiple devices up and running to kind of keep an eye on things. We'll go over, once again, combinations, permutations, who's going where, who might be going, what it's going to take, all the things. Our friends Krista Mann and Adam Geigerman with FIFA PR, they laid out all the combinations and permutations for us. But we do have sound from Stefan Ortega, who discussed, they knew what they needed to do. And then Ilkay Gundogan, who's he had said, obviously, now that he's retired from international play, he wants to be a contributing factor on the club level as much as he can. Yesterday, scoring twice in the 6-0 win for Manchester City over Al Ain. Food for thought. The owners of Manchester City and Al Ain are brothers. What do you think the conversation is going to be like at the meal table on that one? And I think that it will be an interesting marker for football in the Middle East outside of the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote. How much do you want to keep up with the Joneses? How much is something like this going to sit there and go, we need to put even more investment into what we're looking at? So that's the fun part attached to that. What do you think? What do you think that dinner table is going to be like over the next however many years it's going to be before Manchester City and Al Ain play each other again? Great to see everybody yesterday. Ran into Michael Head yesterday. I think Michael is on the golf course today. Ran into Michael Head. Ran into a lot of the SDHers, and it's very humbling when they stop you and sit there and they want to say hi and they want to say all of the cool, very very flattering things that you guys say about us and what we do here on a daily basis. So it was great to see everybody once again. It's very, very humbling to hear what you have to say about what we're building here. And it's not just us, it's all of you too. But it's very, very humbling to hear what you guys have to say when you stop us in the hallway, you stop us in the media room, you stop us on our way to get our credential checked, and you want to say hi. So it's very cool, very humbling to have all that. But we'll go through all the Club World Cup combinations, permutations. We'll go through all of the Gold Cup stuff with Bart Keeler coming up top of the hour at 10 o'clock in hour number 2, because there is some stuff to talk about. Let's see where Bart's DEF CON is leading into the knockouts. And I do want to talk once again, and I want to talk in general just about the state of play. We are efforting guests this week to discuss things. So a lot of our A-listers, and depending on how busy they are, we'll see how many of them can come and visit. Reminder, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are not going to be from Office HD. So the reverb and the picture may not be as clean and crisp as it normally is. The bosses are leaving town, and we're going to be doing the show Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from a different time zone. But we'll still be doing the show, and then we'll be back Friday to do the show back here at Office HD. Okay. Wasting no time. He's in early. Tell me if that's a shock. But Abe Gordon dropping by, 92.9 the game. Good morning, sir. Are you properly hydrated as we start yet another week?
Yeah, I'm getting there. I've been more hydrated and less hydrated, so we're somewhere in the middle.
Where are you in your Peachtree road race training regimen, sir?
I did 8.5 miles in like the middle of the day last week. So it was hot, it was toasty, it was humid. So I'm gonna dial it back. I'll do probably 2 more 5.5 mile runs at some point, maybe one this week and one early next week, and then we'll be there. A couple 3-mile jogs in there, but we're pretty much there.
All right. So then, because the boss is out right now, and she's getting because she said that her group would be leaving about 7:45, and so she wanted to match game day conditions, and so she's out right now, kind of doing her Peachtree prep. For someone who is leaning into their first Peachtree, what advice would you give that individual? Hopefully, they've been training for a lot longer than just 8 + 4, so 12 days out. But what advice would you give folks who are leaning into that first Peachtree road race?
Yeah, I think your first Peachtree is so different than all the others. And my suggestion is don't race it. Just run it and enjoy it. Take in all of the people who are on the field, on the course with you, but take in all the people who are lining the streets as well. The Peachtree is as much an experience as it is like a pure road race. And so I think enjoy the first one. If you need to walk, then walk. If you want to stop and have a donut where they hand out donuts, have a donut. And if you're a Jello shot person, take the Jello shot. I think you can treat that first race as a party, and then if you want to take it more serious in future years, then do so. But don't take it too crazy the first time out. It really is something that no other race in Atlanta offers. Even some of the bigger ones, right? So it is special. So treat it as such. You don't feel like you have to set a goal time. Take in the experience. You can always race for your goal the next year.
All right. We do have, in theory, at least for yet another day, a double match week for Atlanta United, but it would have to take massive tiebreakers, massive losses, and a massive shift in the group stage for Messi and friends for this double match week to actually come off. Atlanta heading in the midweek up to Columbus. And we'll get into other elements to keep an eye on, but no Derek Williams, still waiting on Tristan Muyumba to come back. What are you looking at? coming into this gap in the schedule where Atlanta United's hitting the road to take on a very tough team in their barn?
Yeah, I just think hopefully they somehow found a fresh mentality and some sort of way to stay positive about what has happened these first couple of road games since we started the second half of the season. If you go through we kind of laid it out like there were 6 straight road games due to FIFA Club World Cup taking over Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and you had to find points. And just like at some point, you have to sit there and look and like, all right, if you don't get any points on the road in 6 straight games, you're not going to be able to make a run up the standings. And so you still have an opportunity to do that, but you've really got to find your way into some results here. And so I don't know if it was, and some people point to last year, right, with Rob Valentino, and they had this back up against the wall and the result was needed and they kind of turned it on towards the end. I don't know if you necessarily need to have that mindset. I don't know if it's healthy to have that mindset multiple seasons in a row for long stretches. I know it kind of worked its way last year, but there are also just on-field things you can do to prevent from putting yourself in that scenario. Like stop turning the ball over in your own third would be like a good place to start. That's not a backs against the wall like thing to say. That's just like, all right, let's play some sound soccer and go from there. So I'm hoping the mindset is fresh and maybe that brings some of that. We talked about some of the performances with international duty heading into their last game, and guys, a lot of guys had scored goals and were coming back feeling, positive and confident about themselves. And hopefully they can find that as well, because it was never going to be an easy stretch of these 6 road games, but you had to find a way to manage it. And so far they have not.
And, man, now is that text or?
Yeah, I was trying to put it on silent, but I didn't get to it early enough.
But that's Ric Flair, and that is perfectly acceptable for a sound effect when it comes to anybody sending you a text. Right now, for those that have not been keeping an eye on the MLS standings every single day when there hasn't been any matches going on, 8 points out of a playoff spot right now. And DC United at 18 points, Atlanta United 17, New England at 23, but they have matches in hand. Chicago 25, they have a match in hand. DC United has played one more match. Then you get into Charlotte, Red Bulls, NYC, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, you're going to be looking at some of the younger talent that Atlanta United has. That's why we always have the discussions about the academy that we do. So you're hoping folks come back. You're looking at the back line. You're looking at what that adjustment's going to be. Once again, no Derek Williams. You're still looking at another couple of weeks, maybe with Tristan Muyumba in the midfield. So you're looking at combinations of Ronald Hernandez, Luis Abram, waiting for Noah Cobb to come back, Efren Morales probably, Will Riley, who is here. So am I missing anybody?
No, I think you pretty much got that, and obviously Matt Edwards will slot in as well. Look, the funny thing is, as frustrating as the backline has been at times, all the guys that you mentioned I have trusted, and not all of them have seen the field or made starts. Morales and Cobb especially, but I trust them. And you look at who the errors have been made by, in large part, it's some of the guys that you would say are more experienced and shouldn't be faltering. Brooks Lennon last game, Derek Williams has had some issues at times. And so, maybe the fresh eyes and fresh legs and a new approach it just doesn't seem to be overly a concern for me. I think still a bigger concern is Miggy hasn't gotten going. Latte Loth, really, with the exception of the first 5-6 games of the season, hasn't gotten going, and it kind of magnifies every mistake in the back when you don't feel like you can erase it up top. And so feels like this team has to play perfect. And soccer, over the course of 90 minutes, you're not going to be playing perfect. And I think that is putting a little bit of extra pressure, extra stress on the guys.
How active are you anticipating Garth Lagerwey, Chris Henderson et al., period, comma, in the upcoming transfer window in July. So you're a month out from it, so you have a month of analysis that you can perform. But how active do you anticipate them being for you?
I just don't know how feasible it is. I think we would all like to sit here and say, sell this guy, move that guy. But one of the things that Henderson and Lagerwey, I think, are going to run into is just like when guys aren't playing well, teams aren't exactly lining up to buy them. And I just don't know how many people realistically will be moved to open the space so that you can bring in. I think they would like to bring in pieces and try something new. To do that, though, you have to move on from guys. And that means you have to have a taker on the other side without taking too much of a hit, too much of a loss. I've seen some of the rumors going on both about players that Atlanta United is interested in, but also, some rumors here and there about other programs that are interested in a current player for Atlanta United. I don't know how much I really trust them or how likely it is that Garth and Chris would accept some of those offers. So I think they would like to be active. I would like to see them active, but I'm also approaching it with a little bit more realism in terms of, all right, you have to get guys off your roster to bring anyone new in. And I just don't know how many guys you're going to be able to get off the roster intelligently.
Club World Cup, Gold Cup, how much of that have you watched, or have you just been focusing on making sure that you're going to have the best damn road race possible?
No, I've watched the U.S. games for the Gold Cup, and I kind of notice here or there what's going on elsewhere, but mostly just the U.S. And then I'm trying to stick around with the Club World Cup, but I didn't take time before the tournament started to be like, here's the group, here's who's in the group, and these are the matchups. So I'm kind of like loosely just watching a game here or there without actually knowing like the significance of it in the group and how it would advance in the knockouts and who would match up, stuff like that. So I am watching these games, but I can't really speak and be like, and this is why they're going to win Group C at the FIFA Club World Cup. But I've definitely watched the games, especially the ones that are being held at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Although last night I did tune out at halftime because I think that one was sufficiently ended.
Yeah, you watched a little early, and then you're kind of like, yeah, I think I'm safe. And then you go over to something.
And the PK in first half stoppage time, like, I think we're done here.
Yeah, and then you probably went over to Game 7 to kind of see who was going to be winning an NBA title or something like that.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the Club World Cup as a tournament, even though you're not necessarily completely and totally globally invested in the whole thing?
Well, honestly, I think it's a massive detriment to the Club World Cup that you're dealing with the Gold Cup at the same time. And you're trying to decide which one you feel more passionate about, which one feels like a bigger deal. I think here in the United States, the Club World Cup is kind of taking a back seat because you're talking about the U.S. men's national team. And you're talking about a tournament in the Gold Cup that is one of the 2 or 3 biggest tournaments the U.S. men's national team gets to compete in a semi-annual basis. Obviously, the World Cup is there, the Olympics are there, and when you get to compete in CONCACAF, a Copa as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of in that group. It's a pretty big deal, whereas FIFA Club World Cup, I think, is a bigger deal for the cities hosting it, which, of course, Atlanta is one of them. I don't know how much I'd be paying attention if we're being realistic if Atlanta wasn't a host. I think I'd watch games here or there. Certainly wouldn't go out of my way. The game times are a real problem as well, right? Gold Cup is on at night. You're sitting down. I'm watching the Braves. I pop on the Gold Cup game as well. So I just think it's a tough ask to also be paying attention to the FIFA Club World Cup, especially when there's 4 or 5 teams you're kind of more familiar with, heavily invested, either from South America or from Europe. And then some of the other teams, it's nice to learn about. It's nice to see if they can spring a little upset, but ultimately that's that. I think as you advance, though, in the Club World Cup, you might start to see some of the stronger matchups, and I think maybe it can build off of that, especially if the U.S. men's national team folds and gets eliminated from the Gold Cup. Well, it's realistic. You don't want it to happen, but I think when the U.S. men's national team goes out, I think you'll still get a lot of people watching Mexico for as long as they're in. But other than that, I think the Gold Cup interest dies with the U.S. men's national team, and that's where the Club World Cup maybe could pick some of that steam back up.
Yeah, well, I look at it kind of like the basketball tournament that happens in March and April, where it's one of those opportunities to sit there and learn about that 12 or 13 or 14, 16 seed, where you sit there and it's like, oh, the 16 seed, he's making a little noise. So that's how I'm kind of viewing it. For me, it's a bit of an education, and I will readily admit that I have more than one monitor going at one time, looking at, okay, Gold Cup here, Club World Cup here, whatever else is going on here, golf major, what have you. So, no, it is part of the viewing diaspora that I have, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, you know me. I've shown you my setup. I got the 4 screens there. So, like U.S. men's national team last night, at the same time I was watching the NBA Finals, it was on. It didn't have volume on, but I was paying attention. And then when the club, luckily for us, the U.S. game ended pretty much right as the Club World Cup game last night was starting here in Atlanta. So it was a quick switch over. You didn't have to kind of pick or choose on that front. So that helped out too.
All right, let me circle back. It's Columbus. What are you anticipating in that matchup? Because right now Columbus 4th in the Eastern Conference. They're always traditionally very, very troublesome. 5-1-4 at home, 8-3-7 right now through 18 matches, 31 points, 4th in the East. What kind of a match are you anticipating?
Yeah, again, it's just like find a wait time for Atlanta United, and I don't really care if it's the prettiest goals or ugly goals or a lineup that works or even a lineup that doesn't work. You just gotta. It's going to start in the back. You have to shut it down better than you have, and they're a difficult team to do that. They run sometimes a 4-4-2, sometimes a 4-3-3, and you know the guys that are coming for you. So. Young guys along the back line or even in the defensive midfield are going to have to step up and control this game. But you just, again, I don't know how many times I can say it. I know I sound repetitive both here and on the Five Stripes Countdown, but like you got to make teams work harder to score against you. I'm so much more comfortable saying, man, tip of the cap to Columbus. That was a heck of a goal.
Right.
That beat you. I mean, if we're going to lose the game, at least let me say that as opposed to another turnover. You can't do this. You just don't make it hard enough to score on you. Make it hard to score. And at that point, if you have to tip your cap when it's all said and done, then so be it. But you're just giving away too many games. That has to stop if you're going to find any success on the road.
All right, broadcast plans for you in the midweek, sir.
Yeah, we're rocking and rolling on Wednesday with the Five Stripes Countdown, and then we'll have the post-game show full-time report afterwards. And then, like you said, we'll see. Maybe it's a double match week, but the way Inter Miami's rolling, that game on the weekend could be canned. And I wouldn't hate having another Saturday night to myself if that's the case.
And another chance for Atlanta United players to get rested and ready for the stretch run. As always, my friend, great to see you batting leadoff on our Mondays. Continue your hydration, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Sounds good, John. Appreciate it.
There goes Abe Gordon, 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. He's going to go get hydrated, and that's why I wanted to ask him the question about how he prepares for the Peachtree, because he runs a lot. And the boss is trying to fine-tune what she's doing as she's getting ready for the Peachtree as well. So keeping an eye on all that stuff. Okay. Saw that a lot of you had some comments about things. And so we'll say hi to everybody and run through the promos and go through, I guess, all of the news that's going on. We'll go through kind of the Club World Cup stuff. Might circle back to it after Bart comes and joins us and we talk Gold Cup and reffing down here at 10 o'clock. So it might be kind of a circular Club World Cup-y news a half hour leading into Bart at 10 o'clock. So good morning, Ropes. Morning, Ricky. Yeah, bit of a one-sided thing and with the matchup. The Abu Dhabi Derby. Say that 10 times fast. Contest between royal brothers, as it was written in the Athletic. And so, Ricky, to your point, I already subscribed. Come on, people. You get the email and you're like, all I want to do is I just want to click the article. I'm already subscribed. This is bogus. This is a joke. All right. So much for wanting to actually. I mean, come on now. All right, so be an idiot. All right, fine. But anyway, so it was the Abu Dhabi Derby between brothers. I'd like to give you the details, but the app isn't behaving this morning, and maybe let's see if the website will behave, and I can actually do it this way. It was a brace for Ilkay Gundogan chipping the keeper twice. Nouri was there. Holland with a PK. And it was Ryan Cherky with a goal. And I want to say Oscar Bob also late. So that was your Abu Dhabi Derby. And let me see if it's in the Premier League when it comes to see, and this is the other thing, extreme heat. Stop it. Stop it, people. I mean, seriously, stop. And seeing, was it Bayern or was it Dortmund? Was seeing one of the German teams hiding indoors in 87-degree weather. Oh, it's hot. Stop it. All right. Jordan Campbell over at The Athletic. The House of Al Nahyan. And so you had the matchup between brothers. Founding father of the Gulf nation, Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan. 30 children, multiple wives, 6 full brothers born from his third spouse, ruling family of Abu Dhabi, one of the 7 states that make up the country, hold many of the senior roles in the UAE government. These are known as the Bani Fatima, sons of Fatima. And it is Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan, best known in the sports world for his purchase of Manchester City in 2008. Vice President of the UAE, Deputy Prime Minister of Abu Dhabi, appointed Minister of the UAE's Presidential Court in July of 2022. The person who handed in the title, his elder brother, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, or MBZ, President of the UAE, ruler of the capital, also called Abu Dhabi, President of Al Ain, who play in the city of that name in the latter emirate. Al Ain, a family affair. MBZ has been their president since 1979. With another of the brothers, Sheikh Hazza bin Zayed, serving as chair. I think that he has the stadium named after him, and it's like Stadium HBZ. His father provided financial assistance and land for Al Ain's first headquarters before his son, Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, delivered a new stadium. During MBZ's 46-year presidency, Al Ain became the first club in UAE to adopt professional status across multiple sports. Most successful club in UAE, 14 Pro League championships, 7 President's Cups, the equivalent of the FA Cup according to Campbell, 2 Asian Champions League titles, the most of any club from their nation. Second Continental Triumph in May of 24, overseen by Hernan Crespo. Qualified them for this FIFA tournament in the U.S., saw them hosted by the president, the Qasr Al Bar Palace in Abu Dhabi to celebrate. 2 of the other brothers, Sheikh Hazza and Sheikh Hamdan, were in attendance, but Sheikh Mansour was not, although he was at a reception and made to congratulate the presidential camel racing team on their successful season. So big brother versus little brother last night. The start of the month, Al Ain announced Emirates as an official partner and official airline of the club to coincide with the Club World Cup, and they're going to wear the company's logo on the training jerseys from next season. That company is owned by the government of Dubai, another of the 7 Emirates, though it's through its investment arm, the Investment Corporation of Dubai. Manchester City have been sponsored by Etihad, wholly owned by the government of Abu Dhabi through its sovereign wealth fund, ADQ, since 2009, and have refused to wear Emirates sleeve patches in the FA Cup since 2015 due to the 2 airlines being direct rivals. Families' involvement in the sport is extensive, but the majority of the teams in the UAE Pro League presided over by descendants of the Al Maktoums in Dubai and the Al Nahyans, Abu Dhabi, who are linked through the generations of marriages and political alliances that form the structure of the nation's ruling class. President of Shabab Al Aqli, the dominant team at the moment, 2 of the past 3 league titles, is Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed Al Maktoum, Crown Prince of Dubai. MBZ's son, Sheikh Tayyab bin Zayed Al Nahyan, founded Al Wada in 2013, and his club president finished 3rd this season, 4 points above his father's Al Ain. The president of Al Wasl, Sheikh Ahmed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, is MBZ's half-brother. Al Wasl finished 4th when the domestic campaign ended this month. Sheikh Mansour is president of his own team in the UAE. Indeed, his investment in Al Jazeera was his first foray into the sport. Their stadium is named after MBZ, so we knew that. On the rare occasion, Sheikh Mansour attended a match against Al Wada. One person who was there Joke's security presence was so large it almost outnumbered the regular fans in the ground. Al Jazeera is the club that Football Leagues alleged in 2018 were paying Roberto Mancini a second wage while he was a manager at City to help the Premier League side stay within FFP. Mancini and City always denied wrongdoing. City's football group's portfolio of 13 clubs does not contain Al Jazeera or Al Ain. They have remained distinct, though City Football Group do tend to only add teams who can strategically enhance their player recruitment ladder. So today's requested reading is Jordan Campbell's deep dive into the brother derby from last night. That's crazy. Not a shock, but crazy nevertheless. And yes, Ricky, we are going to be getting into the news out of Crystal Palace. So to answer Ricky's question, I have not seen one. Has there been any update on Jay Fortune? Jay Fortune, last night in the matchup Trinidad and Tobago and Saudi Arabia, Jay Fortune checked into the match as a second half sub in the 66th minute, I believe. Hang on just a second. Let me get the numbers. So it ended up a goal by Seeley in the 10th, a goal by Al-Buraikan in the 60th, 1-1 draw by the time it was done. But Jay Fortune checked into the match as a second half sub in the 66th minute for Kevin Molino. He was removed from the match after only 14 minutes after basically a hog collar tackle from Ziad Al-Jahani. The video is out there, and it's on Blue Sky and a couple of other places. Literally in the 80th minute, Ziad Al-Jahani is trying to slow Jay Fortune down, and he hog collared him. And when he hog collared him, as Jay's forward momentum is working, the hog collar goes against the forward momentum. Jay takes a plant, and knees go directions they're not supposed to go. So I'm sure that the noises that you heard in the 80th minute in the matchup with Trinidad and Tobago came from any place associated with the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. No word yet on Jay Fortune. Today, Jason is at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training facility for practice. Practice today and tomorrow before they hop on a plane and head to Columbus. When we have updates, we'll give you updates. And Keeler Navas at the age of 38. Eltree was robbed. Navas stood on his head. There you go. I mean, Keeler Navas at the age of 38. There was one double save that he made in the match that was traditionally Keeler Navas-y. Very strong. Morning ropes, by the way. Ricky, when I went to Dubai 2 years ago, wanted to get a Dubai Pro League team kit, went to the largest mall on the planet, and they only had kits from big European clubs. Yeah, that is disappointing. And I was the guy last night that was trying to figure out if I could get one of the Al Ain kits. But unless you are a small, and that's a small in the UAE, you couldn't get that third kit. That's gorgeous. I mean, it was what? It's not teal. It's like a seafoam and purple, and it's very, very cool. And I was that guy that was trying to figure out how I could get one of those kits and figure out what the exchange rate is. And so Ricky wondering about the location. Yeah, we're going to a resort in that state. We've points the whole thing out. That's because the boss is an extreme traveler, and we could do that. So, yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're checking in tonight, staying tonight, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. After the show is over, then we're leaving and coming back because we have birthday stuff on Friday because that's the boss's birthday. Jordan, good morning. Had a good time working in the AMG lounge with VIPers. And some of the supporters, hey, look, some of the supporters wanted to bite, and I know that you couldn't quite partake, but that's very cool that they wanted to have you as a part of it. Sarcasm font from 110M32. Jay will be back in Atlanta sooner than planned. Morning, Lokeville. It was a decent game. It was fun. It was fun to see Erling Haaland. Keep an eye on Haaland. Haaland was injured in the first half, and he was kind of limping around a little bit. I thought he was going to get subbed out when it was 3-0 at the break just to get ready for the Juve match. I thought he was going to, but Pep kept him in. So we'll see how they want to pursue things heading into the Juve match. And the reason I say that Tristan Muyenba is still a couple of weeks away, because it has to do with basically just recovery. And what the club's caveat always is that the player's individual path is going to determine how many weeks he's going to be out. So it was supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks. So let's do some cursory math. So if we do cursory math on Tristan Muyenba's injury, if I could spell the word injury for our friends at the Google machine. So 3 to 4 weeks. So if we say 3 to 4 weeks, then this would be the end of that time period. If he's going to miss 3 to 4 weeks, it was listed as May 21st. So this would be the 4-week period. Right hamstring tendon, lateral collateral ligament injury in the match against Philadelphia. And this is what the club always says, and this is why I always give that caveat. His rehabilitation process will determine his return to play timeline. So hopefully we'll have something akin to a time frame, because we're at that 4-week period. But once again, how is individual X rehabbing? So we'll see. I also think that not having back-to-backs, okay, like I said, we'll go over the back-to-back situation. But not having back-to-backs, unless I think Messi and friends lose by like 7, will help out once again with Derek and with Tristan, etc. So Derek expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks, and that came June 16th. So Derek, partial tear of the peroneal longus tendon in his right foot. And once again, as the club always says, rehabilitation process will determine his return to play timeline. So if you go 3 to 4 weeks, let's just say a month with Derek, that puts him into July. And I don't know what you guys have been, if you guys have had the chance to see Derek in studio, and Mo Adams in studio, and Brad. So it's been very, very busy. So if you go 3 to 4 weeks for the healing of the peroneal longus tendon in his right foot, July 16th is the home match against Chicago. Then you have 3 days later, the home match against Charlotte. Then you have the home match on the 26th against Seattle, where both Tristan and Derek are concerned. Whenever their rehabilitation process determines return to play, I would not necessarily anticipate that they would be 90 minutes ready immediately. So it would be a gradual integration into matches. And just to kind of recap June and July, it's the 2 matches here, allegedly, possibly, probably at the end of this week. Going to Columbus, yes. Going to the Erector Set, probably not. Then that gets you into July 5th in D.C., July 12th in Toronto, July 16th at home to Chicago, at home to Charlotte on the 19th, at home to Seattle on the 26th. Then you start Leagues Cup play in the midweek at home against Necaxa, July 30th. So that's where you are in this process. With any and all injuries, keep an eye out on those timelines and that kind of schedule compression going forward. Jordan saw Bart. Bart was hanging out at the Benz at midnight last night. Morning, Dell. Did not see the Charleston Battery goal. I heard about it. Have not seen it. But apparently the Charleston Battery goal, number 1 top play on Sunday morning. David is back. Survived some way too close water spouts on Lake Erie and some high temps of 65 for a few days up in Michigan. Aquamarine. Thank you, Ricky. Yeah, I know. Math on a Monday is a bad thing. Okay. So why not? Let's go ahead and hit this, and then we'll go over what this is all about. So it effectively has broken, by the way. It has been long discussed, and so now I guess it is officially official. According to Doug Robertson at the AJC, separate. Tristan Muyumba, Edwin Mosqueda training, no Gregerson, Williams, and Togashi, as announced by Atlanta United. So there you go. Crystal Palace are confirming Woody Johnson signed a legally binding contract to purchase Eagle Football's 43% stake in the club, of which John Textor owns just under 30%. So that's like 12.9%. So 43%. So 3 out of 7, and he owns 3/10. So it would be 3/10 of 3/7. So once again, math. So 70, 21 over 70. So something in there. So 21 over 70. John Textor owns just under. So basically 13% of Eagle Football is owned by John Textor. 43% of Eagle Football, or of Crystal Palace, is owned by Eagle Football. Completion pending approval from the Premier League and the Women's Super League, but no issues expected. Palace to stay in Europa League, which even without John Textor's sale, according to Ben Jacobs, always anticipated, set to be confirmed in the coming days. So Woody Johnson picking up Eagle Football's stake in 43% stake in Crystal Palace. John Textor owns 30% of the 43%. The release from Crystal Palace, their own selves, if I could find it. So, of course, Crystal Palace sends me a note, and I have to now go back and find it. But anyway, all right. So, Crystal Palace, Woody Johnson, and now it's no longer Crystal Palace Eagle Football John Textor. It is now set to be Crystal Palace Woody Johnson. So we'll keep an eye on that. Morning, Abby. Don't know, Ricky. Finally getting paid for Thiago with actual money instead of IOUs. That would be the big question. That is the big question. So is the 21 million plus 2 separate interest developments, you're going to get paid? Who else is Eagle Football a little slow on the uptick for? That's a larger question for me. Who else is in the queue? But I would anticipate that serving numbers 1 and 1B, or 1 and 1A, 1A and 1B, would be Atlanta United, 3 million plus 3% interest, and 18 million with 3% interest of varying times under a 12-month window. So that'd be nice. Just saying. Abby asking if any of the volunteers got their gifts yet. Dell with the public service announcement. Hey, here is the goal. Ricky got his bottle and pin. Should get his scarf next week. You see one of the scarves that we have attached to said tournament right here. So we're going to be adding the Manchester City Al Ain scarf to this stack. Jordan's got a couple more matches to go. Let's see. Woody Johnson. Woody Johnson asking the ownership question. I think this is his. Is this his first foray into soccer? I think it is. Currently, let's see. Other sports ventures. Here we go. He made a bid to purchase Chelsea from Roman Abramovich. Was considered to have an advantage over other bidders like Saudi Media Group due to his familiarity with London, experience in sports management. However, it was reported no longer in contention. So helped the league find a successor to Paul Tagliabue. It looks like that. So the Johnson Company Incorporated, a private investment firm. Let's see. 2006, according to the Wikipedias, Senate subcommittee produced the 370-page report that said some prominent figures, including Johnson, purchased capital gains losses as a way to reduce their own income tax bill, settled in 2006. 2000, he bought the Jets for $635 million. December of 24, Forbes estimated the value of the team at $6.9 billion. Following his acquisition of the Jets, moved the team to the Meadowlands. Let's see. As of 2025, the Jets have had the longest active playoff drought in the NFL, with one season above 500 since Johnson has owned the club, apparently. New York Jets Foundation. So, yeah, literally other sports ventures. He was interested in Chelsea, didn't get him. So that is where he is right now. That is where he is with his stuff. So he has been all into American football with the New York Jets. He has not picked up anything else until apparently now. Della's saying that the goal that the Battery scored similar to the Beckham halfway goal. You had to bring up Wimbledon, didn't you? Abby done with all her shifts. Wanted to get back before they run out. Let's see. So and Jordan's asking what gifts are available. So we'll find out. Morning, Jack Foster 37. Congratulations. Welcome to the grid. Don't ever be a stranger. We're here talking soccer for about another hour and 10 minutes. Okay. So Club World Cup yesterday. Let's get into the scores and who is doing what and where and who's advancing where. So, and then David, I think this will be the key. If Woody Johnson leaves Steve Parrish and everybody to their own devices, then they should be okay. That will be the rub. But Club World Cup yesterday, and match day 3 is going to have its own set of shenanigans and craziness. I'll just go ahead and say it right now. And like I said, we'll go over all of the activity and who's got what and where with groups A and B today. Juve beat Wydad 4-1, which set up what Manchester City knew they had to do. That was part and parcel as to why Manchester City scored so many goals. They wanted to get as many goals on the board as they could. They are tied in goal difference with Juve, but they're now 1 goal behind in goals scored. So Manchester City, if they're going to win the group, they need to win the match, because if it's a draw, you're still the same. Head-to-head is the same. Then it goes to goals scored, or goals difference, which would be the same in a draw. Goals scored, 1 more to Juve. So it's got to be one of those situations where if you are trying to determine who is going to be on top of this group, for Manchester City to be on top of the group, they can't just be a draw. It's got to be a win. Even with all the stuff that they did yesterday. 6-0 on the board, beating Al Ain. Okay, great, cool, fine. But you're still 1 goal behind Juve in goals scored. 5 against Al Ain, 4 against Wydad. So if it's a draw, Manchester City's your 2, Juve is your 1. Manchester City's path gets a little bit more difficult. And then the final match in the group on the day would be Wydad and Al Ain. That one might be crazy, but we'll see. Real Madrid 3-1 over Pachuca. Like I said, we're going to catch up with Bart on a couple of moments in this match early for reffing down here. But Real Madrid 3-1 winners over Pachuca. Pachuca had chances early on when Real Madrid was trying to sort it out and figure out, okay, who needs to do what, where, and when you're down a man. They didn't get that early goal. And so, of course, scoring 2 in the first half ended up being Real Madrid, with Bellingham scoring 1 of them, and it was 2, and then Pachuca had no chance. Man advantage, nothing happening. Salzburg and Al Hilal, it was a goalless draw at a very thick Audi field from all intents and purposes and from all indications. So Salzburg, Al Hilal, goalless draw, Group H. And so Real Madrid, Pachuca, Salzburg, Al Hilal, and then Manchester City getting 6 on the night. So today, and we'll go over juice boxes in a second. Today's the beginning of the match day 3s. This match day determines who is going to be coming to Atlanta next Sunday at noon. And it's going to be the group winner out of Group B taking on the second place team in Group A. That's going to be at Mercedes-Benz at noon on Sunday. And then there's another matchup that's going to happen Tuesday. So basically it's like MD-1 Sunday at noon, MD-1 late night Tuesday. So we've got all that going for us. Today, 3 o'clock, it's Group B. Lumen Field, it is Seattle and PSG. That is tonight, or this afternoon at 3 o'clock. So your juice boxes on this one for the 3 o'clockers. Which direction am I going here? Okay. 3 o'clockers, Seattle is a plus 1467 to win outright against PSG. Plus 791 in the draw. PSG is a minus 714. Atletico Madrid and Botafogo are at the Rose Bowl. Atleti is a minus 159. Botafogo a plus 465. Your draws a plus 286. Botafogo's win over PSG kind of threw this entire group into the blender. 9 o'clock tonight, Messi and friends at Hard Rock taking on Palmeiras at a plus 441. Palmeiras at a plus 106. Draws a plus 152. Porto and Al-Ahly are at the Meadowlands. Al-Ahly is a plus 355. Porto is a minus 141. Draw is a plus 304. So now, combinations and permutations, courtesy of our friend Krista Mann and Adam Geigerman, when it comes to the quick info of who is going to be doing what, where, and when. Secure tickets before the lock-in. So, Group B kicks off. Botafogo, knowing a point against Atletico Madrid, means that they finish in first. So if Botafogo has a kickabout and they draw Atletico Madrid, they finish first. They would be part of the equation coming to Atlanta. Rojiblancos, they have to avoid defeat to keep their hopes alive. PSG advances to the knockouts without depending on the other result if they beat Seattle. Seattle's got to win big, and then Botafogo has to beat Atletico Madrid. So let's put it this way. The lean is Botafogo, PSG. So that would be your 1 and your 2. Botafogo, winning Group B, would come here to play the number 2 team out of Group A. Messi and friends got Palmeiras today in Group A. Both teams eyeing a win. They get a win, they got a chance at winning the group. A draw means that both advance. In the other match, Porto and Al-Ahly means that a victory gives one of the two teams a chance of making their way in, but not entirely so. So here's your tiebreakers. Playoffs with 2 or more teams in the same group finish on equal points following criteria in order, and this is FIFA's rules, shall be applied to determine the ranking. Greatest number of points obtained in the group, superior goal difference, number of goals scored. And so that's why we were getting into the whole thing about Manchester City and Juve. So right now, A, B, and C shine on Juve right now if the two teams stay with the same number of points. If it's a kickabout and a draw, then it goes A is a tie, second tiebreaker is goal difference. That would be a tie in a draw situation. Number of goals scored would then go to Juve because they have scored 1 more goal than Manchester City. If after A, B, and C, teams still have an equal ranking, right? You have A, B, and C applied to the matches between remaining teams only. If they're still equal, goal difference in all group matches, greatest number of goals scored in all group matches, best disciplinary record, and then drawing of lots. So those are your 7 tiebreakers. But right now, FIFA and Manchester City and Juve would go to that third tiebreaker, and then it would be Juve because they've scored 1 more goal. And you would assume that if it's a draw, that it's still going to be the same number of goals scored for both sides. So that's what you have with Group A and B today, plus the chaos out of what happened last night involving Manchester City and Al Ain, which sets up match day 3, which once again, to avoid losing in the third tiebreaker, you get the win, then you win the group. That's what you're looking at if you're a fan of Manchester City. So that's your rundown of all of that. Early juice boxes, by the way, for tomorrow. Auckland City in Nashville. And if you're near Nashville, go. It's a 3 o'clocker. It's Boca Juniors, and there's a really cool piece on the Auckland City keeper who loves mate. And he's really looking forward to taking on Boca Juniors. Boca Juniors are a minus 10,000. Auckland City's a plus 4,220. Benfica's a plus 324 with Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich is a plus 102. Here's the fun part. Group D. At the link, Chelsea and Esperance de Tunis. Chelsea's a big favorite at a minus 323. Esperance de Tunisie is a plus 859. If you haven't heard Jess's call of the penalty kick save against LAFC, go back and find it. Then LAFC is a dog against Flamengo. Flamengo's a minus 137. LAFC's a plus 357. That's where we are with tomorrow. But we got to get to tomorrow after today. Favorites today, ATLUTD, PSG, Porto, Palmeiras. But you've got all the tiebreakers and everything that lay it all out to figure out, okay, here's the deal and what's going on and all that. So if you're hanging around a monitor at 3 o'clock, and there you go. Coming up around the corner, Bart Keeler from the SoccerForUSPod. We're going to look at USA and Haiti. We're going to analyze the goalkeeper situation. All of that. All them things. All the things. And apparently, Jack asking us who we support. And we are, let's put it this way. We are a network about the sport. So we try to cover as much of it as humanly possible. We're based in Atlanta, so that we try and cover as much of it as we can. Yes, we do cover a lot of Atlanta United and a lot of Southeastern stuff, but that doesn't preclude us from covering a lot of other things. So we might talk about your favorite club, Jack, but we'll talk about all the news that's important, all the tournaments that are important, all the stuff that's going on in and around anything and everything that's attached to the sport. And part of that is the Gold Cup. And so that means that after last time he was on, when we celebrated West by God Day, so the WBGV Day, West by God Virginia Day. So now it's time to catch up with Bart Keeler because of Gold Cup happening. So you got a fuzzy background. What's going on?
I just decided I would try not using the design background and see if that would help my video not lag as much.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right. So we'll see. We did early on in the program discuss the hog collar incident that happened with Saudi Arabia and Jay Fortune.
Look, I mean, no doubt, low down, dirty scoundrels don't belong here acting like that. How do you get an invite into someone's house and then act a fool like that? That is just, that's just rude.
It is.
And they should be lucky that they are here. And the fact that they, throughout the tournament, have been playing so dirty and just straight up
it's
not nice.
It's unwatchable.
It ain't right, John. It ain't right.
It ain't right.
So, but hey, they get to host a World Cup in 9 years' time, so good for them.
And at the same time, we also have had the how do we phrase this? You end up with one of the coaches that is chasing after the centerfold on the coach's calendar. And he was not wearing his standard white button-down shirt, button down to the third button with the gold stuff that's normally attached. But Saudi Arabia comes in as a guest, and they were in fact very, very rude. And so now Atlanta United has to kind of keep an eye on Jay Fortune. It was an ugly hog collar tackle. Did it even get a yellow? I don't know if it. I think it got a yellow. It should have gotten a red, frankly.
I'm pretty sure it got a yellow, but it's. You could make the argument it's serious foul play or violent conduct. I mean, you really could. And it wasn't. I think a yellow card is appropriate for most actions, but I think, again, when you consider how the Saudi team has acted throughout the tournament, it seems like there was. Look, we don't judge intent, but you can judge on a little bit past behavior.
So 4Card says there wasn't even a yellow with that?
No way. I thought for sure there was, but I didn't get to watch the game directly, so I'm going by what I saw on the replay, and I thought the referee gave a yellow card. So
okay. All right, so then let me go to Abby's follow.
That isn't even a yellow card by CONCACAF standards. And Abby, we know that red cards in CONCACAF are a figment of our imagination. And that is crazy because that is a yellow card even by CONCACAF standards. I mean, that truly is.
Wow. Not one listed by SofaScore. Wow.
Well, look, the check cleared, so.
I know that we need to talk Gold Cup because of what happened, and it was the U.S. going up against a team that they should have handled. It should not have been as much of a hair pulling exercise as it seemed to be. And before we get into individual position groups and go through the exasperation, which I imagine is attached to the goalkeeping situation and distribution, which I know that we're going to be getting into very, very quickly. So you win, you keep moving at the end of the day.
Look, I think when you look at this tournament, you know you're not playing with your best players, right? There are a few players on this team that you can write and pin as first choice, or at least going to the World Cup. You know, there's a few that are written in pencil. Most of these guys are fighting for consideration. They're not even fighting for a spot. They're fighting to be considered to have a spot. And you got 3 wins in the group stage. And I thought last night really wasn't as bad as the scoreline indicated. You had a couple of goals called back for being offside,
yes,
which is hard because I thought that you created good chances. You had some decent varying patterns of play that created opportunities in and around the penalty area. And, you know, if you're lucky, 1 or 2 of those Tillman chances, he stays onside, and you're not wringing your hands over only a 2-1 win. If you're lucky, you know, Matt Freese just kicks the ball out, or even better, Tim Ream gives him a better pass.
Yeah.
And you're not feeling weird about it, you know, today. We will get into individual performances. I think individually there were some good performances, but I think overall you just say, look, this team, which is very clearly not your first choice team, got 3 wins in a Gold Cup group stage, and that's good. You know, you only conceded 1 goal the whole time, and that goal was a gift. So from a defensive standpoint and even a goalkeeping standpoint, you did that part of the job pretty well. You just failed on one other part. And I think in this game specifically, as we do move into the conversation about individuals, there were guys brought in for obvious squad rotation. You know, this was the final group stage game. You had secured advancement. Not only are you trying to make sure guys don't pick up a yellow card, but there's just some, hey, we might as well try and see how this guy looks in a competitive match. I mean, Haiti had to win. That was kind of the other thing about this, is this wasn't Haiti's eliminated and, you know, what do they care? They had to win in order to advance, or had a chance to advance, I should say. And, you know, that also colored a lot of the match because Haiti certainly wasn't going down without a fight. And I'll give a lot of credit to Haiti, John. I think we need to, is they looked pretty competent throughout this tournament. They are obviously, their goal is World Cup qualification. Whether that is achievable or not is a different story, but they look like they are a team that is trying to put together something that resembles competent soccer. Again, that island of Hispaniola has decided that soccer can be a real thing. And with the Dominican Republic and Haiti possibly giving you competitive, you know, competent soccer, that is a great thing for not just the Caribbean region, but CONCACAF as a whole. I have more good things to say about Haiti after this game than the U.S., but that's not a bad thing. That's not a knock on the U.S. That is a high praise of Haiti.
Yeah, and we're halfway through what it's going to look like when it comes to the quarterfinals. So the Haiti starting lineup, Arcus, Ade, Matusala, Experience, Dietzen, Pierre, Danley, Jean-Jacques, Providence, Naison, Pierrot, and Placide. Placide, if you like taking field trips, he certainly did. And he didn't even need the permission slip from his parents to make sure that everything was fine. We'll get into that in a bit. 2-1 final, goal by Tillman. Early on, you're thinking, okay, everything's going to be rolling. Tillman scores in the 10th, but then 9 minutes later, you get a moment from Freeze, who hits it straight into someone who is not sharing the same colored jersey as a teammate of Matt Freeze's. And so you're tied 1-1.
In his defense, John.
Oh, Tim
They're
Ring.
wearing white jerseys
Yeah.
with loose shoulder. You know, it didn't look like a U.S. shirt. So maybe he just got confused a little bit.
I know. But yeah, Tim Ring's pass did need to be better, and it was not putting Matt Freeze in a position to succeed at 100%.
I would go as far, John, to say that Tim Ring didn't need to make that pass. And I think this is, when you look at this goal specifically, since we're here, this is one of those times where the whole forcing building out of the back is the flaw of the system, because sometimes you don't need to do that. Tim Ream, this needs to go out for a throw in, or Matt Freeze, this just needs to be sent again out for a throw in or just long up the field. He was obviously trying to hit John Tolkien because you're trying to find a pass and possibly launch a counterattack. I get that. But again, this is when you force building out of the back, and I'm not going to say Matt Freeze is bad with his feet. I think that is a stretch. But I mean, Tim Ream made that pass 2 yards from the goal line. Like that in itself is kind of like, why are we trying to do this with guys barreling down on you? That was, and maybe not a bad decision by Ream, but again, a design flaw in the force everything to be built out of the back type of system.
So goal 1-1 after 19 minutes, and then Patrick Ajimong scores in the 75th in front of a crowd of 20,918.
Absolutely. There definitely were 20,000 people in that stadium. Actually, I will say it's a little hard because Jerry World, similar to MBS, when you don't have like a curtain blocking off the top level, like it's hard to actually tell how many people are there. Like last night, tangent, not segue. Tangent. Last night, a great crowd at Mercedes-Benz for a cheating team and a team that's from the same country that they're from that maybe doesn't cheat.
But they are brothers. Brothers own both franchises.
But we can't have Crystal Palace in the same competition as Leon, John. That would be problematic.
Or Leon and Pachuca.
Or Leon in the same.
Yeah.
That would be problematic.
Yeah, apparently so.
But a team owned by the country that another team played. Anyway, point is, great turnout. But it looked empty because they didn't have the curtains all the way around. And so I think, to be fair to the players, or to the people who showed up, it may have been 20,000, which is about, I don't know, half of what the Jerry World configuration that they were selling, because they were only selling the 1 and 200 levels, were at. So
Abby's asking about last night. Just under 41,000 was what was announced.
Yeah. And that was obviously tickets paid. I know the ticket scanned obviously is a little lower, but it was a good turnout. A lot of a color that I don't really particularly enjoy was in the crowd.
And then there was the cutaway of the one dude who was wearing the Arsenal jersey.
I know. There were several Arsenal fans there. So, but I will say that we're on the tangent. So you could see a very clear difference between a Sunday at 9 p.m. game where people were able to come out and Monday at 3 p.m. Shockingly, people on Monday and Thursdays had jobs and had to work said jobs.
Yes, that is absolutely true. Okay, so with the numbers being what they are, all right. So Pochettino used the same starters against TNT in Saudi Arabia. Against Haiti, gave 4 players their first starts. Brendan Aronson, Tyler Adams, Quinn Sullivan, John Tolkien. Aronson set up Malik Tillman's goal. Tolkien assisted Patrick Ajimong's. Sullivan, USA's most dynamic first-half attacker. So said Mike Waitala from Soccer America. So Matt Freeze got a 2 from.
That's really harsh. I will say, yes, he is very much directly responsible for that goal. I thought he made up for it in a couple of other ways. He did have 2 saves. And one of those, I think, late on that kind of preserved a a win.
79th minute against Reuben Providence. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. Look, he made a big mistake. The problem is, I will always say, and this is also coming from a goalkeeper, when a goalkeeper makes a mistake, everyone blames the goalkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
When a defender makes mistakes and scores, somehow people still find a way to blame goalkeepers. And I mean that looking back to the Nations League, where Matt Turner bore the brunt of the blame and has seemingly lost his starting spot because, he messed up on that goal that Panama scored. But the defenders are not held to that same standard, even that they let a dude walk into the penalty area unmarked. Tim Ream's still starting. Tim Ream was part of that back line.
Yeah.
So, sure, he was directly responsible for that goal. Again, Tim Ream, why are we making that pass there? Why are we forcing a pass to your goalkeeper from 2 yards from your goal line while under pressure?
So. Yes. And to that point, the next sentence from Waitala goes into defenders. Tim Ream had better options with Deedson on his back, like shielding the ball or turning toward the corner flag, then striking it to freeze as Franci Pierrot charged toward the goal area. Deedson's shot flew past Chris Richards into the net. Richards' flawless defending in the second half ensured there'd be no more serious Haitian threats. Mm-hmm. Slick back heel past Duckins Nazon showcased Richards' composure on the ball. Left back John Tolkien started attacking from the get-go. Mm-hmm. Ball down the wing sparked the build-up for the first goal. Tolkien polished touches in the second half, assisted the game winner with the ball to Ajimong. Right back Alex Freeman ended a dangerous Haitian counterattack late in the second half. So Freeman gets a 5, Chris Richards gets a 6, Tim Ream got a 3, Tolkien got a 6.
I would give Freeman a 6. I thought this was, and I'm grading a little bit on a curve, so I will say that. Yeah. I thought this was the best he's looked. And again, Haiti is a competent team who is playing for real stakes. You know what I'm saying? And I thought Freeman looked pretty good. I thought his positioning was better. I think in his defense, he's going from a guy who I think it's fair to say with Orlando is more of a, hey, bud, get up, get forward type of fullback, than what he's playing now, which is very much a, basically in possession, a right-sided center back. I thought he was pretty good this game, actually. And so I disagree with Mike on that. I would give him a little more credit. I do think Tolkien, I don't think he is as dynamic as Max Arfston, but I think Max Arfston is more mercurial, which is not necessarily positive for those of you who know your words. Tolkien is the word that I heard in there, polished. And I don't think he's necessarily super polished, but like he is way more polished than Arfston. Yeah. And that allowed us to build offense a little bit better. And you could tell that the attack from the left side was not solely through Tolkien. Yeah. And it allowed us to have different types of chances created and create chances from different areas on the pitch. You saw a bunch of different crosses coming in, but like also a bunch of different through balls coming in, and way different than what we saw with Max Arfston. And personally, of all the guys who started in this game over, someone who had started in the previous 2 group stage games, I think Tolkien is the one who earned a starting spot going forward.
Well, maybe it's the fact that he's no longer platinum blonde and he's just kind of letting things get back.
He's still a little blonde. He just let his hair grow out.
Yeah. So it's like, maybe don't be as platinum and then maybe the game improves. I don't know. Midfield, he's Quinn Sullivan gets a 7, Tyler Adams a 5, Malik Tillman gets a 7, De La Torre a 5, Brendan Aronson a 6.
Adams and De La Torre were interesting because I thought they were really involved with the attack, but I think it's fair to say that defensively they didn't provide like the cover we really needed, which is different for Adams. But I think that was because we were so getting forward. Like they were forward a lot this game. So, hard to be both way up in the attack and also play defensive. But I think that you're making that risk against a Haitian team that isn't playing through the midfield, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
As much. So yeah. I think 5s are fair, but I think that's just because of the type of game they played. I don't think Sullivan, this is hard. Okay. I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought he was. Was he better than Jack McGlynn? In the fact that he is faster, but Iraq is faster than Jack McGlynn.
Wow.
So no offense, Jack.
Wow.
But like Jack McGlynn is a better soccer player. Does that make sense, John?
Yeah, because you're looking at different categories of the entire player.
Yeah.
And McGlynn on the whole is a better player than.
But it's unfair to McGlynn to say he's a winger because he's just not. Whereas Sullivan does play on the wing. That's kind of where he has found a home with Philadelphia now that he's more of a starter there. So I think if you're looking at those, it's like, well, yeah, I think Sullivan is a better winger.
Yeah.
But McGlynn is still a better soccer player.
Yeah.
But I thought he did himself a favor by at least looking like a very competent. Obviously, he had, I think, a really good opportunity he had like a 3-minute period in the first half where he had a header hit the crossbar, a shot that was saved right at the near post, and then another one that was like blocked for a corner kick. And it was like, oh, okay, if he can continue to do that, that is the type of stuff you want from your winger that Jack McGlynn doesn't necessarily do.
Yeah.
But Jack does a lot of other things that are like super good.
Right. And those were in the early 30s, those moments that you were talking about with Clint Sullivan. Forwards, and so here's how Mike phrased this Patrick Agimong's day. Patrick Agimong leaves no doubt about being a relentless battler and a burden on defenses as displayed with his groundwork on the opening goal, but can he finish at a World Cup level? ? He should have scored on a first half one-on-one. Yes, he should have.
Yes, he should have.
But in the end, he came through.
May have been offside.
And saved the USA the embarrassment of tying team number 83 in FIFA's World Cup rankings. So he gave Agimong with all of that a 7. Doesn't sound like you're ready to give a 7 on that.
I'm not. I think you can give him credit for the goal, which was actually a really nice finish. There's just too many times that he gets dispossessed.
What was Johnny Placide thinking is what I want to know. Johnny Placide is like, hey.
I think he felt he had to come out and make that play. I don't necessarily think he had to, but, I am not seeing the immediate upside of Pat Agimong.
Yeah.
I think he is benefiting from the fact that every other striker in this camp is either hurt or Pochettino decided to not call anyone else up.
Right.
My question is, obviously there's comparisons for Josh Sargent because that's, I think, the guy who's being brought in to like compete against. And obviously he has scored 1.5 goals this tournament. And we know the stat of, Josh Sargent hasn't scored since 2019.
I was going to say since the Nixon administration, but sure.
The question, though, is Josh Sargent, who hasn't played in a Gold Cup. Jesus Ferreira has notoriously, El Pirata.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this competition the proving ground to be a full-fledged starter for this team? I don't know. The other question is, say he would have brought in other guys. I mean, there's a dude that we all know and love who's playing down in Austin, and granted he hasn't scored a lot this year. Blame Austin.
Yeah.
But would Brandon Vasquez have done similar? Like, those are the questions, and I don't think we have an answer that Pat is better than any of the guys who are either above him or in the same level of him as him in the striker depth chart. And I don't think he has done much outside of being big, tall, strongish, because he gets knocked over a lot. I mean this sincerely. You can't tell me he's big and strong when Haitian defenders are very easily able to dispossess him. Yeah. You can't tell me that he's fast when he's not beating guys on foot. And so
thing can be said about Brandon Vasquez's time in Liga MX, where he gets bumped over with the wind.
Yeah. And so that's the problem is he better? We don't know, right? And I do think it's frustrating to evaluate Agimong for this tournament because, again, okay, you scored on a deflected shot against Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad is not good. Full stop.
No.
Haiti is better, and I think much better than their ranking shows. But also, when you evaluate Haiti against other teams that are around them or ahead of them, it's very clear they're not quite at that level. And so he scored, but he also blundered a lot of chances. And it's just, I'm not on the Pat train. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just not.
Well, and knowing that there are others that if you had your Class A lineup, that Patrick Ajimong might be on.
Yeah, there are. I mean, Max Bretos, bless his little heart, man. Stay out in L.A. But trying to say that he's the third option. Why are we bringing him in? Then we don't need a third option, because if you're going to have Pepe and Balogun, like in no way, shape, or form, in no world, and no evaluation piece, can you say that Pat is anywhere close to those two for like a number of reasons.
Heavy sigh from Bart on a Monday.
So you're not, obviously Haji Wright had to leave because of an injury.
Right.
Downs isn't playing for, I guess, injury reasons too. I'm not entirely sure what the diagnosis is, but I mean, if we're not even able to get good evaluations of these guys, and what I saw from Downs in the minutes he played against a better team, Saudi Arabia, he looked better. Haji Wright has also scored a goal in this tournament. He's played like 3 minutes. So if it's just scoring goals against not great competition, again, this is the Jesus Ferreira conundrum. If that's all you're looking at, then any striker playing in a Gold Cup is going to look halfway okay.
Okay. 2 players got grades. Cups of Coffee did not get grades. Brian White, Johnny, and Paxton Aronson did not get graded because of the amount of minutes. Diego Luna, Jack McGlynn got 5s.
I thought they looked good when they came in. I think that's a fair assessment.
So then the next question comes from Abby, and I think we know the answer, but I'm going to go ahead and ask the question anyway. With the keeper situation, who do you think starts in the next match?
Oh, it's Matt Freese. I think Pochettino has made Matt Freese the starter of this tournament. Is that because he has unseated Matt Turner? I don't really know. I think it also could be fair that this is one of those messages he's sending. Mainly that, hey, bud, this dude's playing week in and week out, and he just trusts that more than a Matt Turner, who I still think is a better overall goalkeeper, but isn't playing a lot. It's frustrating, I'm sure, for Matt Turner, but I would not replace Freese because of one instance that, again, is something that as a team you need to talk about, because I think the breakdown wasn't necessarily the scuffed pass.
All right, so now you get the U.S. playing Costa Rica in the first quarterfinal, winning group, and so they're winning their group. Mexico is winning of their group, going up against Saudi Arabia, and setting up the ones and the twos and the Bs and the Cs and trying to figure out what that's going to look like in the knockouts. I know that conventional wisdom is like, can Saudi Arabia just, if you're not going to do anything, just kind of stand there maybe. And but
look, I mean, the best case scenario is Saudi Arabia, does their business against Mexico, and Mexico's, either eliminated or otherwise incapacitated ahead of the final.
Yeah, so. in Glendale in Costa Rica is going to meet the U.S. up at Allianz.
No.
Or in many. Oh, it's
at U.S. Bank.
At U.S. Bank. Okay, cool.
Uh-huh.
Well, good. Goes indoors.
Yep. And the Viking ship.
Yeah. So it's and then semifinals: Santa Clara and St. Louis. Final scheduled Sunday, July 6th at NRG, and you've got the matchups coming up with the rest of the grid. As I sit here and try and look at the other matchups, as I'm sitting here going, what are my other matchups? Well, maybe if you clicked back and you'd have the answer for tomorrow. You've got Guadeloupe and Guatemala. You've got, and it's simultaneous starts. Guadeloupe, Guatemala, Panama, Jamaica, your earlies. Canada and El Salvador, and Honduras is taking on Concordia University of Wisconsin, otherwise known as Curacao. Everybody's looking at CUW and going, well, it's Concordia, Wisconsin, isn't it? And we're like, yeah, sure, it is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you're looking probably at, I mean, I'm intrigued with these matchups, but I think that you're probably going to see some chalk and not necessarily be completely and totally just shocked and surprised by results. Let me check the juice boxes really quickly from what's going on tomorrow, and we'll see. Well, we will. What, you don't have odds available for matchups tomorrow? What is wrong with you people? You're letting me down, Odds Portal. How do you not have Gold Cup odds posted yet? You know matchups are happening, but you don't. That's just frustrating. That is a juice box purveyor disappointing folks on a Monday. All right, fine.
John, I got a question for you.
I'll see if I have an answer for you.
All right, so Canada's the biggest and mightiest team in CONCACAF, right?
Just ask Jesse Marsh. Yes.
Have they secured advancement to the knockout round?
I believe the answer to that would be no, considering what happened last time when they played Concordia University of Wisconsin.
Huh. Interesting. So they're in a must-win situation against El Salvador, basically.
I believe that would be the case, yes.
I think it's fair to say they don't have to win, but if they don't win, they have to hope that other results go their way.
It's encouraged, yes, for them to continue in their turn. Yes, and so we are also waiting for the end result of the CONCACAF investigation involving Jesse Marsh inside the 2-match suspension, where he was told to be someplace. Then apparently he was told, no, we were wrong. You weren't supposed to be there. And then alleged colorful metaphors in conversation. And we're still waiting for that to come from CONCACAF to find out what the latest is with that. Okay.
Cheater's going to cheat.
All right. So since we were discussing the USMNT, cards and calls, I'm going to go ahead and start here. So if you would please try and explain the Malik Tillman handball inside the 6 and why that was called a handball and not incidental contact and ball goes into net and goal score.
Okay. You can't have an incidental handball that leads to a goal. Okay. Period. Flat out. So if it hits any part of that playable part of your arm, or unplayable, I should say, part of your arm, so below your armpit.
Got it.
And it goes directly into a goal or goes down and you then kick it in, then you cannot score that way. You can't score with your hand. Goalkeepers can't throw the ball in the goal. You can't score with your arm, even if it's incidental, like that very clearly was. My question, though, John.
Yes.
What angle was shown that was a handball? Because the center referee, I don't think she had a great angle on it just because of the way that it's positioned. I don't know if she would have been able to for sure see that the arm closest to the goal line, his left arm, while she's running at that's just a harder angle to like fully see. She seemed very confident, at least after talking to her assistant referee,
and to the 2 players,
and to the Haitian players who apparently were like, no, it was handball. I have not seen a replay, and granted, I don't think it was reviewed, so I think that might be the indication that it was a handball. But I haven't seen a replay that doesn't show it; just comes off as left pectoral.
Yeah, and so that was why I was, because the low angle that was shown on television had, and I know that this is not going to work well for those that are just listening to us, but so if I'm Malik Tillman and I'm standing here and the camera's view is behind me, Malik Tillman, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but Malik Tillman's left arm is at his side. Yep. And you cannot necessarily tell because the camera angle is behind you, and I don't think I think there was an end zone camera at Jerry World, but I was still trying to figure out the moment of contact. Why is it when the hand is basically the arm is a part of the silhouette down by his side, you have impact made heading toward the camera lens, but Malik Tillman is blocking it, and then it goes into the net. I was confused as to why that was called no goal because of contact with Malik Tillman. I was confused.
John, I will again say, if it is a handball and it directly goes into the goal, it cannot be a goal.
Right.
The conversation was this a handball?
Sensing the conjunction in your sentence, yes. Okay.
The conversation today was it a handball? And my evaluation is, I didn't see a replay that showed it hitting his arm. Right. And again, it can be right down, like in this instance, The arm can be right by his side.
Yeah.
If it still hits the non-playable part of your arm, which again is below the armpit,
Okay.
it is still an illegal goal,
Okay.
right? Because you just can't score with your hand or arm or whatever, right?
You can't score, darn it.
However,
I
didn't see a replay that showed that ball hit part of the non-playable part of his arm. That's all I'm saying. Even if it did hit his arm, it still looked like it hit the part that would be considered, in my opinion, a legal part of the arm.
Okay, just checking, like I said.
Or of the body, I should say.
Yeah, so the first touch from Tillman.
Just saying.
Yeah, just saying. Okay. And apparently Bayer Leverkusen have opened talks to sign Tillman from PSG this morning, open to activating the release process. They consider him an exciting player, according to Florian Plettenberg. No full agreement yet, talks scheduled.
Exciting is not the word I would use to describe Tillman. I love the Scuff podcast calls him languid.
Languid?
Yeah. But like in a positive way, like, because exciting, he does exciting things. Sure. I think I had a really good game, but like, he is not a guy that you go, whoa, because he's everything he does is so calm and like cool.
Okay. So, all right. So I'm staring.
But he is exciting. He's a good player.
Yes, I'm staring at the replay of the angle that is given to us. There's one down the end line, and it bounces basically. So chipped, deflection, and it looks like it's inside the sleeve of the jersey is where it looked like it was for me.
Which is what we're told is a fairly decent indicator of the barrier line between playable and non-playable.
Okay.
If it's not cut and dry, but the sleeve is a good indicator of being a legal part of your body.
Yeah.
On a short sleeve jersey.
Okay. So short sleeve jersey, it looked like it hit right in the middle of the sleeve. You have Placide and one of his defenders sitting there and motioning to center ref like, yes, I believe that it was. And so then Cachi Garcia of Mexico agreed with the Haitian assessment. 18 shots for the U.S., 8 for Haiti, 6 on target compared to 3, 6 saves, 4 by Johnny Placide, 2 for Matt Freeze, 11 corners, 6 to the U.S., 19 fouls, 11 of them for Haiti, 3 offside, 2 to the U.S. Possession about 2-1. So that was the rundown of the matchup and the win as they wait now for everybody else to come join them in the quarterfinals of the Gold Cup. Okay. The other element for cards and calls, it was 2 calls in Real Madrid's match in Charlotte.
Okay.
And one is the Asensio red, which I'm guessing was Dogso red. And then the subsequent foul inside the 18 by Arda Güler, which was not called anything, and play continued. So
what minute was the Arda Güler foul?
It was shortly thereafter, but I don't even think it was given as a foul. It was just an action inside the 18 that was just like given nothing.
Haven't been able to watch that. I was busy yesterday.
I thought you were busy.
But I through Twitter I saw the red card that Asensio got, and that was absolutely dog so 100%.
Yeah.
You could maybe possibly argue that there were some players nearby, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of.
Yes.
There were players on the same half of the field. Mm-hmm. But in that incident, that is a very clear dog so incident. And then I think the other problem for him was it wasn't a attempt to play the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he just grabs him and throws him down, Asensio does. And that is also just gonna, maybe not throws him down, but he grabs at him. Yeah. And any player worth their salt at this level is going to fall down when you feel that contact.
Absolutely.
And he does, because that's what you should do. So I'm watching the ensuing free kick. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking maybe this is where the Arda Güler.
It was shortly thereafter, and it was far side of the 18 from the camera side. So far side of the 18, and Güler basically pulls down a player from Pachuca, and you get no foul. I mean, legitimately, if you're going to call what you're going to call on Asensio, I was wondering about consistency in general. And with physical,
well, I mean, I can't find it, John, so I'm not going to comment on that directly. But if you're telling me that it's on the far side of the 18,
far inside the 18, far side, right on the edge, inside the 18,
you could make the argument that it's not dog-so.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I'll just say the Asensio red card is absolutely a red card. It
yeah,
meets all the qualifications for dog-so, and when you have a dog-so foul outside the penalty area, that is a red card.
right. And so it was
that foul would have been a red card, by the way, inside the penalty area as well, because again, not a genuine or legitimate intent to play the ball.
Yes. So that was kind of where I was going here. And so you're down a man, and so of course what happens? You score 2 goals by the half, and you end up with a 3-1 win. Is there anything else that stuck out to you in your mind from the weekend, whether it was cards or calls or anything that was attached to the national teams on the whole, or cards and calls that stuck in your brain that we have not had the chance to talk about? Or are you good, sir?
You know, again, I'll just reiterate that this team has a lot of guys who are, again, fighting for consideration to be part of next summer.
Mm-hmm.
Not even they're fighting for a spot. They're fighting to be considered for a spot next summer. And when you look at it through that lens, you do have to kind of understand that it's not going to be an easy task for this national team. I mean, they're playing a Costa Rica team next that looks to be playing pretty good. By all accounts, they've looked decent this tournament. Definitely a better team, than I think they have been in the past couple of editions. They've been in a dip, but they haven't lost. The U.S. hasn't lost either. You could argue that they're in a slightly tougher group considering their, relative advantage. But I have not seen anything from this team that says, oh, they can win the Gold Cup. But you get into the knockouts, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean,
oh yeah,
your job is to win the next game, not to beat Mexico in the final right now, right? You have to beat Costa Rica in the quarterfinal. Then you have to beat whoever you get. It could also not be Canada, which could be funny. Again, Canada's by no stretch guaranteed anything. I think they are safe if they don't lose. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
But they're not guaranteed anything. And, for them, sure that, they're not guaranteed to even win their group at this point. Again, even if they draw, they're not guaranteed to win. I think anything not a loss will, I think, send them through. But yeah, I mean, it's nice that you got 3 wins in a row. Now the real business happens, but you can't worry about playing Canada in the semifinal or Mexico in the final. You have to beat Costa Rica in the quarterfinal.
Mm-hmm.
And we will now see a little, I'm wondering what the team looks like, because those CONCACAF Nations League matches were bad. Straight up.
Yeah.
Bad. You played poorly, you played without heart, and you got your butt handed to you. This is now a similar type of tournament. You're in a knockout round tournament. The group stage is over. You have to win the next game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So what does Pochettino's team look like? That's the question.
Okay. So, okay. So 26th minute, Keeler clashes with Elias Montiel in the box. And it looks like there's a still from Getty that looks like hand fighting. There's a young kid in the stands who gestured for a VAR, but they upheld the ref's original decision playing on. And so you're looking at the idea of something of that. But it is a still photo that looks like hand fighting, but then you end up with Montiel going down on contact and I would say that Goulet basically takes the front of Montiel's jersey, if I remember correctly, and pulls him down. They go to VAR, and it's held off. So you don't get you don't get re-refereeing, but it stayed.
We have seen in both tournaments we're watching this summer.
Yep.
I think a higher standard of what clear and obvious is. So
Okay.
hopefully we're seeing a slight reset of this, because we haven't seen, from my vantage point, as many VAR interventions for fouls. And I think that's the thing here is I think VAR being used to check offside, and as tedious as it can be sometimes, offside is yes or no, right? Fouls are subjective in a lot of ways. So I think that hopefully we are seeing a slightly higher threshold for, as you always point out, re-refereeing. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that this is a clear and obvious error. Is there any way possible that this referee got it wrong? That's not what we're asking. We're saying this is wrong. You need to go look at it.
Okay, so all right. I think Ropes is looking at the 1-0, the goal late, the Santi Jimenez. Okay, so all right, before you get out of here, sorry, we got a coda. How can Santi Jimenez be offside if the cross goes to the other side? Ball goes to Santi. He's no longer offside. Historic robbery against Mexico versus Costa Rica. It's said, but nothing happened. So we might have, I think that's what Ropes is discussing here, the idea of no goal and it being offside, and Santi Jimenez getting robbed. So of the goal at 90+6 by VAR, I think is what Ropes was getting into from last night. So let me hang on. I've got the link, so I'll show it to you, because we don't want to get in CONCACAF in trouble. So there. So I found it, and there it is. So one other thing before we get out of here on a coda. So Santi Jimenez is said to be offside.
Okay. So Santi.
And I'm guessing
I'm watching this on the ball played in. Santi was offside.
Okay. And I think, and so it goes from 1-0 to back to goalless.
Oh, because this was not headed from, okay. I hate this law interpretation.
Okay.
But this is a new interpretation of the law of the game.
Okay.
Where if a defender makes an action, we had this in the Atlanta United game. Oh gosh, I can't remember because we lost. So it's one of those games that we lost due to fishy referee call. This was not a pass. So Santi Jimenez was in an offside position when his team passed the ball.
Okay.
The defending team made a play on the ball, or at least in our view, made an action on the ball, but not in a deliberate attempt to possess or clear the ball.
Okay.
We give more allowance for a header because we understand that jumping and heading is harder than the ball being on the ground and controlling it there. And so in this case, the ball that came off of the defender is viewed more as a deflection than an intentional play. And so because it went to Santi Jimenez, who was in the offside position at the moment of the last pass by his teammate.
You got a fire alarm.
Apparently. Apparently. So that is why this was ruled offside, is because the last touch of that ball was to him.
So, okay. All right. Go.
I'm going to go deal with this fire alarm.
Go deal with your fire alarm. Thank you. We'll see you later. Don't.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Wow. Bart's got a fire alarm. That's a Monday for you. Okay. So that's why. That's why Santi Jimenez goal was disallowed, and it's a goalless draw. And so Mexico and Costa Rica had what they had. So there you go. All right. All right. So gossip, rumor, innuendo, news, anything else on the table before we get out of here and let you know what is going on today? We mentioned the sale of everything John Textor Crystal Palace to Woody Johnson. So we mentioned that. Wow, a fire alarm. I just hope that Bart's okay. All right, so let's get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo news and anything else that is fit to print and everything else that's going on before we get out of here. Okay, so player news. Arsenal could back out of the £70 million deal for Benjamin Sesko because the Slovenian international's wage demands. Sporting and Victor Gyökeres a backup option. Bayern Munich have entered the race for Jamie Gittins. German champs reportedly willing to offer Dortmund £55 million. A move from Juve for Jadon Sancho depends on whether the Italian club signed Conceição from Porto. Nico Jackson, according to Chelsea, is not for sale despite interest from Saudi Arabia and Europe. Liverpool have agreed to a deal to sell Gerald Kwanzaa to Bayer Leverkusen for £35 million. Club have placed a buyback clause in the contract. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Manchester United showing an interest in Fiorentina's Moise Kean, who has a €52 million release clause in his contract valid the first 2 weeks of July. Andreas Christensen expected to leave Barca this summer, Fabrizio Romano. Wrexham Stockport County interested in former Wales and Rangers forward Tom Lawrence. Paul Mullen, 2 years left on his deal at the Stoke K. Rask, could join Wigan on a season-long loan. Derby's John Eustace keen on a reunion with free agent defender Danny Bath. Connor Cody, a target for new Rangers boss Russell Martin. Birmingham keen on former Man City midfielder Tommy Doyle. And Ross County have reportedly agreed to a deal to sign out-of-contract Harrogate midfielder Dean Cornelius at the end of the month. All right, let's check in with our buddy Ben Jacobs, find out what Ben has seen this morning. Man, I'm still stuck at the fire alarm for Bart. That's wild. Okay, Brentford closing in on appointing Keith Andrews as their new manager, now in advanced talks over stepping up from set-piece coach to replacing Thomas Frank. Former fellow Republic of Ireland international Damien Duff had also been considered as a backroom staff option. Alex Crook with that news. Liam Delap knows about the number curse and choosing number 9, idolizing Wayne Rooney. So it's a conversation that they had for TalkSport. Everton optimistic of signing Kenny Tete on a free. Defender set to leave Fulham with talks over a 3-year deal at Goodison Park. Advanced Fabrizio Romano first to break. Milos Kirkesh en route to Liverpool ahead of formalizing his move, £40 million fee. Kirkesh agreed on a 5-year deal, hoping to complete the medical tomorrow. We mentioned the Woody Johnson numbers. And let's see, £190 million deal subject to Premier League approval. FIFA said that they have over 1 million fans who have now attended the Club World Cup. The milestone hit in the Juve Wydad win in Philly. Wydad supporter from Virginia attending her first live match. After match 30 of the competition, a cumulative 1,094,686 fans have attended the tournament on an average of 36,490. Obviously, the biggest attendance was 80,619 for PSG and Atletico Madrid. All right, let's take the tour of all of the other places and get you stories and get you caught up with all the things. There is a rumor out there, and it's just a rumor. Emi Martinez to Manchester United. Keep an eye on that. Is he eager to join Manchester United? Villa might need to sell Martinez to help please FFP. You got to keep an eye on that. Martinez is quite tempted by a move to Old Trafford, according to The Guardian. Another man that Ruben Amorim has on the radar, Moise Kean, once again, that £44.5 million release clause. After missing out on Florian Wirtz and potentially Nico Williams, Bayern looking at Gabriel Martinelli. Gunners potentially looking to clear the decks in an attempt to stop finishing second. The Bundesliga champs costing them more than £50 million. Alternatively, they could make a move for Jamie Gittins of Borussia Dortmund. If Martinelli heads off to Munich, Mikel Arteta might be looking at Rodrigo. Doesn't seem completely happy at Real Madrid. Might give Arsenal a bargaining chip. Spanish side want more than £70 million for the 24-year-old. We mentioned Benjamin Sesko. Harvey Elliott helped England's U21s reach the European Championship final Saturday night. Might need to depart Liverpool to find regular football. Brighton could offer him a route out of Anfield, but it would cost them around £40 million. Galatasaray in need of a new keeper because Muslera has called time after 14 years. Looking at Aaron Ramsdale, who might be interested there. £20 million release clause at Southampton. Would not be eager to let him go. Much cheaper, so a loan might be considered. And the Guardian also mentions Kenny Tete. So there's all of that. Apparently, Ibrahim Konate is disappointed with contract offer as talks stall. Mark Gahey is prepared to see out the final year of his contract and not move anywhere. So the clock is now on probably on Crystal Palace to see if they can get a deal that Gahey would be interested in, or a place that he's interested in going, and a price that would fit both the intended target and Crystal Palace's checkbook. Okay, Gundogan, he also wants to see out the final year of his deal at Manchester City. He mentioned that last night. Sampdoria is in line to avoid relegation to Serie C after a playoff match was abandoned. Salernitana fans hold smoke bombs in seats from Reuters. Second leg of the Serie B relegation playoff between Salernitana and Sampdoria abandoned on Sunday after home fans threw smoke bombs in seats. Sampdoria leading 2-0 when the match was initially postponed with 25 to go. Play briefly resumed, ultimately abandoned amid chaotic scenes at the Stadio Arechi. Sampdoria likely to be awarded a 3-0 win, securing a 5-0 aggregate and guarantee their escape from what had seemed certain relegation to the third tier. Salernitana's CEO Maurizio Milan told a press conference that the club would go down to Serie C. Quote, "We hoped to restart from Serie B, but we'll do it from Serie C. We know very well that the third division is very complicated. We'll start again immediately, learning from our mistakes." Salernitana also suffered a setback after being hit by food poisoning, which led to the second leg being postponed after Sampdoria had a 2-0 win in the first leg. So you lose 2-0 in the first leg. You end up with food poisoning. Then you end up with chaos on the field with fans throwing seats and flares, and you could end up getting forfeited anyway. Lose 5-0, Salernitana looking like they're heading to Serie C. Santi Cazorla played at Real Oviedo, his childhood club, for the minimum wage. Now they're heading back to La Liga. Sid Lowe's got a great piece up on that. And very, very cool. Very, very cool about that. Let's see. What else am I missing? Am I missing anything here? Let's see. I'm trying to check all of the stories and all of the papers, and I'll say once again we'll circle through. Looks like Paratici's Tottenham consultancy role is going to run for the entire transfer window. Sean Wright Phillips faces threat of financial ruin after the taxman has a bankruptcy petition. Then you have, let's see, Garnacho pictured in a Marcus Rashford Aston Villa shirt. I don't know how well that's going to go. Hey, remember the story that we were talking about Vivid Seats and how Todd Bowley's a co-owner of Vivid Seats, and apparently you can get Chelsea tickets on Vivid Seats, even though you're not supposed to get Chelsea tickets on Vivid Seats, especially here in the United States. Premier League, here, headline, Telegraph. Premier League questions Chelsea over unauthorized ticket seller, co-owned by Todd Bowley. We'll make a Vivid Seats visit on our way out the door of this story. Tom Morgan at the Telegraph. The Vivid Seats website has allowed foreign-based users to buy and sell English top-flight tickets for tens of thousands of pounds. And we showed you at the end of the year all the decision day stuff involving Chelsea. You could get into Chelsea matches and buy them from the United States. So Tom Morgan said in his article, the Premier League has demanded answers from Chelsea over the unauthorized reselling of Premier League tickets by a website co-owned by Todd Bowley. In an open letter, the Chelsea Supporters Trust requested in March that the Premier League act swiftly in investigating Bowley's involvement in Vivid Seats. Richard Masters, League's chief executive, has now confirmed at a Football Supporters Association event that the competition had written to the club. According to minutes of the recent FSA event, Masters, quote, confirmed the PL had written to Chelsea to seek clarification on the club's position with the matter ongoing. Richard Masters advised the Premier League would reply to the Chelsea Supporters Trust once the Premier League had concluded its discussions with the club, end quote. Bowley has not been accused of any wrongdoing, but remember, Vivid Seats is an online marketplace here in the U.S. Bowley is an investor and a director, and as we said, and as we went through the schedule, you could buy Chelsea tickets on Vivid Seats here in the United States and go catch matches overseas. Chelsea Supporters Trust had asked the league to, quote, act and investigate the situation, which they believe is both a breach of trust and a clear conflict of interest. Trust has also submitted evidence against the American company to the government's Department for Culture, Media, and Sport. Chelsea recently pledged to take action on ticket touting, but did not name Vivid Seats or other ticket resellers. We'll do something. Well, for who? We'll do something. Them. The them. They. Them. That's who. Vivid doesn't allow fans based in Britain to buy or sell tickets because that would be illegal. But the business model does raise, and this is from the writings, the article and the wording of Tom Morgan. But the business model does raise the prospect of Chelsea co-owner Todd Bowley profiting from the kind of activity his own club have repeatedly denounced. Bowley has not commented, but Vivid Seats previously said in a statement, quote, as a global business, we are always respectful and cognizant of local regulatory policies and procedures that are in place in any market to ensure we are compliant. As such, comma, our policy restricts the sale of EPL tickets from UK sellers. That is true. We can confirm that we do not have any UK sellers listing EPL inventory on our marketplace. Additionally, Vivid Seats does not and has never directly marketed or advertised Premier League tickets to UK customers. That is also true. Bowley, a director and investor in Vivid, described as an unauthorized ticket seller by the league, also owns 13% of the stake of Chelsea. Okay, so with that being posed, let's go to Vivid Seats, shall we? Let's go to Vivid Seats, and let's check on our Chelsea tickets, shall we? And they're apparently now accepting Klarna, whatever that is. So if we go to Vivid Seats and look up Chelsea tickets, outside of tickets that are going on in June against Esperance at the link, starting Sunday, August 17th at Stamford Bridge against Crystal Palace, get-in price. Hey, Chelsea FC tickets are selling fast. 516 fans are currently shopping. Get-in price at Stamford Bridge for Sunday, August 17th. Short side, upper tier. Get-in price $197. Long side, upper tier. Get-in price at $212. So if you wanted to go see Chelsea and Crystal Palace at Stamford Bridge Sunday, August 17th, you could drop $197 US each. Or $212 each. $213, $289, $305, $310. Long side lower, $347, $360. A lot of them for $360. Long side upper for $392. 609. Row I-16. They do exist. They still exist. You can get Chelsea tickets to Crystal Palace. You can get Chelsea tickets at London Stadium. You can get Chelsea Fulham August 30. You can get Manchester United Chelsea at Old Trafford on September 20th at 3 o'clock. Get-in price $183. God knows what your sight lines are like, but you can drop as much as $2,800 if you wanted to. But you can get into the match at Old Trafford September 20 on Vivid Seats for $183. Just saying. So keep an eye on Vivid Seats and Todd Bowley and all that stuff. Other quick news in the Times. Let's see if there's anything going on there before we circle back. Let's see. Galatasaray is keen on Ramsdale. Okay, so we mentioned Aaron Ramsdale. Galatasaray looks like they're going to jump on that. Jack Grealish might be looking at Napoli, but Napoli doesn't necessarily want to match the wage bill that might be there for Jack Grealish. So in the Flamengo-Chelsea match, Nico Jackson says he's so angry at himself. He's sorry for the red card 4 minutes in, which means he's not available for match day 3. So keep an eye on that. All them things. And apparently, as of a couple days ago, keep an eye on the health of Kylian Mbappe. Gastroenteritis. Keep an eye on all that, too. Tomorrow, once again, when we dial it back in, we're chasing a couple of guests. And obviously, they are both Club World Cup and Gold Cup related. And also, it is a unified related, too. With Tyler in Portugal, and for those of you that might have seen his social media post where he literally is wearing a Wrexham shirt in Lisbon, Portugal, he has a conversation with someone from Wrexham. That's the cool part about this game, people, is that you don't know where these conversations are going to come from. David, unfortunately, Bart keeps coming with this scorching hot takes. The fire alarm will eventually sound. Absolutely true. Abby, I don't know if they're actual tickets. Abby says, I bet those outside of the UK don't know it is illegal to get those tickets. So we'll see. Looking at what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Obviously, you have the matchups today at 3 and 9 that are Club World Cupian. We'll see if we can figure out where they are. Club World Cup, 9 o'clock on TBS, Messi and Friends in Palmeiras. DAZN has all 4 matchups. And so literally that's it today. All 4 matchups today, DAZN, that's it. You've got match day tomorrow when it comes to Gold Cup. Doubleheader, Panama, Jamaica, Canada, El Salvador. At the same time on FS2, they're going to have Guadeloupe and Guatemala and Honduras and Curacao. But today is Club World Cup only, Groups A and B, to determine who is going to do what where. Remember, winner of Group A, second place in Group B, Sunday afternoon, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, noon kick, which means it's going to be an early morning getting in there on Sunday to get our stuff recorded. But thank you to everybody who has been keeping an eye on us and watching all of our content and looking at all of our things and all that stuff. So it's been really cool to be able to tell the stories of the Club World Cup so far, and we're going to keep telling them as we're now into match day 3 and getting you ready for the knockouts that are going to be starting up this weekend. So thanks to Abe. Remember, we're in a match week, people. Match week, Atlanta United taking on Columbus. That is in Columbus on Wednesday, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. Madison Cruz will have your Five Stripes countdown and your full-time report with Abe Gordon, starting an hour before, ending an hour after, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. And then keeping an eye, once again, with action going on today, not likely that there would be a blow-up of Messi and Friends losing by, I think, 7 or something like that, to where they would not be the second team in the group. But it looks like Messi and Friends will be coming to town to take on probably Botafogo, but we'll see. But that's what it looks like Sunday at noon. Messi and Friends waiting on an opponent. If we think what's going to happen is going to happen. Well, obviously, we'll keep you posted on all of that. So tomorrow we'll have the sound from Stefan Ortega and from Ilkay Gundogan that we can play to get you through and get you ready for match week, and also play what's going on with the Club World Cup. And so we're going to check with our guests and figure out who we can see if we can track down all week long. And then once again, remember Wednesday, midweek whip around, and we'll let you know what we can track in the final, or in either in the first hour or in the final half hour, as Atlanta is heading to Columbus to take on Crew. Katie with a question before we get out of here. Can they not just reverse the curtain so they don't say Atlanta United? And it does, and to your point, Katie, it does add to the coziness, but I think that probably just because of the sheer bulk nature of the curtains, that they were laid down, that they are supposed to come up and come down in one direction. I don't know if you can flip the wires, and I don't know what's on the backside, or if you could still see the shadows of the words Atlanta United on the other side of the curtain. So I think that they're just trying to be safe and just go with what they know. It doesn't have any kind of Atlanta United wording, bunting, what have you, when it comes to that kind of a curtain. Let's see. Also, morning four card, by the way. I know that Jack Foster, first off, morning Katie also, and welcome back four card. Jack is here for the first time, and Jack said that he supports Sunderland, so probably not. No, it just depends. It depends on where the storylines are. So we pretty much give all the storylines from 9:05 Eastern time until roughly 2 hours later. And we discuss everything that's going on. So once again, tomorrow we'll get you through Gold Cup. We'll get you through Club World Cup. Since we didn't hear from them today, we're pushing the Manchester City sound to tomorrow. It's Stefan Ortega and OK Gundogan that's a part of the discussion. We'll chase all of our guests and all that kind of stuff and get you ready for your Tuesday. Thanks to Bart. Thanks to Abe. Thanks to y'all. And that's another go-round of SDH AM here on the SDH Network. Keep an eye out on all your socials for all the content that we have. CWC 180. Breaks down everything that happened last night. Get you ready for what's going on today on Instagram stories and YouTube and X and Twitch and all the places and all the things. So back at it in a little less than 22 hours. The background will be a little different, but we're still going to be doing the show. So keep an eye on everything going on in and around the sport of soccer. It's busy time, and we are officially in the summer of soccer. So we're going to talk about the summer of soccer, and we got Gold Cup, MLS, Club World Cup, all the things, and whatever else is on your mind as we go. So as always, great to have all of you here. Humbled and grateful that you are here every single day. And take it easy, everybody. Mucha plot to y'all. Since it's the end of the show, means I get to do this. See you in a little less than 22. Different location, same show. Mucha plot to y'all.